the Department of Justice seeking charges against Don Lemon. A judge says, nope, not this time. The judge has rejected the charges being sought against Don Lemon, and there's a background to it. Here it is.
So news organizations, stop selling out your journalists. Let them report on the news. Stop trying to move the journalism in the direction of Republicans or MAGA or this administration. And if you were trying to do it to the left, I would say the same thing, but that's not what's happening. Nobody's trying to move anything to the left. But you're trying to move things to the right. Not only is it unseemly, it's un-American. And you don't deserve to be a journalist or in the business of journalism if you do that. So look, I stand proud and I stand tall. This is not a victory lap for me because it's not over. They're gonna try again and they're gonna try again. And guess what? Here I am. Keep trying. That's not gonna stop me from being a journalist. You're not gonna diminish my voice. Go ahead, make me into the new Jimmy Kimmel if you want. Just do it. Because I'm not going anywhere.
Very well said. Understand the proxy war that's happening. So one, it was never about the protesters. It was about getting Don Lemon. It was about silencing the voice of Don Lemon. But then it wasn't even about Don Lemon. It was about what Don Lemon represents, the proxy of this, the free press, the free press, the free press. Conservative outlets have utilized Trump to their advantage, and Trump has utilized the conservative press as the de facto ministry of communication, basically, from his White House. But Don Lemon stood strong, very proud of the brother. And once again, this is the continuation of the assault against truth-telling, regardless of the terminology, journalist or not. Truth-telling is under assault, not just plain journalism. Truth-telling is under assault. Put it up full mass. In an update, veteran journalist Don Lemon called out the Trump administration after the US Department of Justice attempted to criminally charge him for reporting live at a protest against ICE inside a Minneapolis church. A federal magistrate judge refused to approve the DOJ's criminal complaint against Lemon for his on-the-ground coverage of the peaceful protest on January 18th. This was inside city's church, where protesters accused his pastor, David Easterwood, of being an ICE field director in the community. Lemon, an Emmy Award-winning journalist, entered the church to interview church members about the demonstration. He was not part of the demonstration as the administration alleged. He had been in Minneapolis covering ongoing protests in the city amid the Trump administration's escalating immigration and law enforcement activities targeting Black and brown immigrants following the January 7th fatal ICE shooting of a 37-year-old mother named Renee Good. Some important factors to remember in this story. One, the Trump administration made churches front and center for something like this to happen. When they decided to roll back the protections that a place of worship and faith would typically have, they rolled that back. They eliminated that separation. They decided to withdraw the veil, making their ICE agents immune to constitutional violations of individuals as they go and attempt to round up, well, undocumented folk, which once again is a proxy war against everybody. Two, Don Lemon was not the only person reporting inside of that church, but he is the target of the DOJ. In a statement hitting back at Trump's DOJ and their failed attempt to charge him, Lemon's attorney, Lowe, said, quote, "The magistrate's reported actions confirmed the nature of Don's First Amendment protected work this weekend in Minnesota as a reporter. It was no different than what he has done for more than 30 years. Reporting and covering newsworthy events on the ground and engaging in constitutionally protected activity as a journalist. Now, the Trump administration, they would like you to believe that they're able to tell you who a journalist is and is not. And so they will say, well, these are left-wing lunatics and they're not real journalists, fake news, fake journalists. Okay? They do that in order to eliminate the truth from sticking to you. And so they come up with false narratives about those who deliver the message without attacking the message itself. So they want to pick who is in the media. Who is a journalist? Well, that's a common model for dictatorships, where you have to be an approved, government-approved, and government-sanctioned individual in order to be a member of the press. This is Trump creating a de facto version of that. There's more. According to the New York Times, the DOJ prosecutors sought to charge Lemon for possible violations of the FACE Act, a law that makes it a crime to physically obstruct or use threats of force to intimidate or interfere with a person seeking reproductive health services or seeking to participate in a service at a house of faith. During the White House press conference on Tuesday, Donald Trump accused Lemon of accosting the church's lead pastor, Jonathan Parnell, and defended the actions of ICE agents. Quote, they have to be abused by guys like Don Lemon, who's loser, lightweight. I saw him, the way he walked in that church, it was terrible. The way he walked in. He walked in that church. The way he walked in that church, it was terrible. The audacity of a black man to walk into a white man's church. There's more. The Times reports, despite the judge's denial, the DOJ will still seek to charge Lemon through other avenues. However, what avenue is unclear. Lemon's attorney said, should the Department of Justice continue with this, quote, stunning and troubling effort to, quote, silence and punish him for exercising his First Amendment right as a member of the free press, Lemon will call out their latest attack on the rule of law and fighting the charges vigorously and thoroughly in court. While unsuccessful in prosecuting Lemon, the Trump administration began arresting activists who participated. We talked about this yesterday in the church protest, put it at full mass. So we have organizer and civil rights attorney Nakima Levy Armstrong and St. Paul Public School Board member Chantel Allen, both black women. Put up the mayor, Minneapolis. The mayor did rebuke the administration for the arrest, calling it, quote, gross abuse of power, end quote, and demanded their release. Another quote, the federal government is picking and choosing who to investigate, going after protesters, and not the person who shot and killed one of our neighbors, said the mayor. Keep the mayor up. Once again, to the good people of the city of Minneapolis, your mayor and your police department, they are authorized. They have constitutional and statutory and Supreme Court case law protection to arrest lawbreakers, regardless of who those lawbreakers may be or what uniform they have on that day. I want to remind you of that every single time because you're not powerless. Your city is not powerless. You have protections, but the individuals who continue to give you word salad are not engaging in the protections that you deserve. You're paying for the protections. You have a right to the protection. The words of the politicians add up to you should have protection. All right, Jamie, thoughts about it?
You know, in this brazen attempt to homogenize our media and our politics that the Trump administration has been engaged in it, and even Trump himself, even when outside of power, I think he's delegitimizing the federal government in this umpteenth way. So it used to be, the old adage was that if the feds charged you with something, they waited till they were good and ready. They built a case, and you were going down by the time the feds get the confidence to actually indict you on something. Now, James Comey, Obama, Letitia James, Jerome Powell, all these cases are getting dismissed summarily. This lawfare has eroded these institutions, and I think the right wing should pay attention at how aggressively the Trump administration is weaponizing the DOJ. He ain't gonna be president forever. Eventually a Democrat's gonna come into power, and I would hate to see a system where we're swinging mud and the pendulum is swinging drastically all the time. Like we should expect better for our leaders, and the right wing should speak up. The DOJ used to be an independent organization largely. They used to independently prosecute, not at the whims of our crazy lunatic president. I work at a courthouse, and I have for the past 10 years. We have this crazy lady, and she has filed a bunch of lawsuits against churches, against neighbors, trying to get all kinds of stuff. And the court said, you are a vexatious litigant. Therefore, the clerk's office is not allowed to take any petition from you without court order. And I know this is different because it's a criminal matter, but at what point is the court going to say, look, the Trump administration is not serious. These DOJ attorneys are not serious. We cannot take these filings seriously. So you must get court approval before you bother indicting somebody. And I don't know if we lived in the America that I grew up in.
No, you make a fair point, because generally speaking, the reason why a court will rule that way is because it's in the interest of justice.
Right.
You would clog up the institutional norms of the legal system. You're also putting individuals on defense that may not have the ability to afford legal representation that you've now possibly defamed. And it is frivolous on face value, these suits that are being alleged. So we understand that. And he's definitely qualified, it would seem. But, and I will say this about Don Lemon. Everybody who supports any form of free speech should support Don Lemon, period, regardless of your politics. Because Don Lemon, not by way of his own actions, but by way of the administration, Don Lemon has become the test subject for this administration's standards as it relates to how they decide, or if they decide, to prosecute a standing free press in America. All right.
Where are the free speech warriors? I mean,
exactly.
Cut you off again. The right wing got elected this cycle because they were free speech warriors, free speech absolutists. Where are they now?
That's right.
Where are
free speech absolutists. The hell. Nowhere to be found. All right. We'll bring you updates as they come.